Paul, how's it
Well,
going?
good.
I'm great. Yourself?
Good. I didn't ask you how you were yet, but how are you?
You
That
know
was
what? These conversations are starters
started
are
running.
always the same, and so people are like I'm always on auto reply on all of them, and so sometimes my AI is faster than the actual entry.
Oh, I like that.
That's the
Either that, or we could say you have an AI glitch.
AI glitch. There you go. Cool. Honestly, I've been looking forward to this. We are doing another rapid fire question show. Last month's was really fun, so I'm looking forward to doing this. It's quickly becoming my favorite type of episode. So
It is. It's
uh,
actually my favorite episode. I've already passed it off to people. I know we tried a few weeks ago, and it's just it's fun.
yeah, it's fun. Like because I said, the concept is we ask each other really quick questions because there's some topics that we need to cover, but they're not always 15, 20, 30 minutes long. Sometimes a 1 minute answer is good enough. So who's starting?
I asked you first last time, so I'll let you ask me first this time.
Okay, is prospecting a quantity or quality game?
Oh my God, that's a good question. Um, I think it's both, and
There,
and I'll explain. If you obviously you have to do quantity, okay, so
yeah,
let's go there. You have to do a certain amount of you have to do a certain amount of prospecting because um, you can't predict the answer of the person you're going to be prospecting.
right,
So you do need to establish a goal of amounts of calls you're going to make, or amounts of emails, or LinkedIn reach outs, or video emails, whatever it is that you're doing, because you have to eventually calculate your closing ratio. Once you have your closing ratio down, then you should work on the quality. Well, if anything, you should have some quality to start with. But let's assume you've done that. You've built a pitch. You've built a discussion. You've built a strategy, and then you should always, maybe try to tweak it to make it better. So really, it's both. So I would say first thing, build your pitch, so quality, then quantity, and then try to affect the quality again, and then try to affect the quantity again.
gotcha.
Make
Yeah,
sense?
it makes sense because like I think that question came about is obviously I'm doing my own prospecting, and there's definitely a difference in how the engagement I get when I reach out to somebody cold, like somebody who like really doesn't know, versus somebody who I know they have an issue because I've seen something online or whatnot. Those answers go a lot better. So the more high quality people you can get, I think the better results you'll get. But I think if you just focus on quantity and try to reach out to hundreds and thousands of people a week, won't go work as well. But if you try to reach out to one good prospect every quarter, won't go work as well either.
Well, that's it. It's the same concept of, does your store hold three items that are worth $1 billion that are super high quality, or are you just working on volume, right?
Yeah.
Just getting as much out as possible with lower margins. So it's a similar concept. Okay, my
Cool.
turn.
Yep.
Um, you're going to think I'm philosophical. What are the roots of marketing, Fab? So when did marketing start? And let's call it modern marketing. You don't need to go back to the Babylonians.
I had an exact date in Babylonian time, but you don't want it. When did it start? I mean, I think marketing's been around for a long time, and
Not just when it started, though, but what are the roots? Like, so what was it born from? Was it born from sales? Was it born from a need? I
that's
know.
a good question. I don't know the history of marketing,
Sorry.
where it was born from, other than the need to communicate your value to a broad base of individuals, right? And so, as I think it probably came about when when the need to speak to more than one-on-one person, because sales is very one-on-one interaction. The second you start needing to talk to two, three, four, five, 100,000, a million people, that's when marketing kind of kicked in. So I could easily imagine how in a crowded market, maybe in Babylonian times, if you wanted to stand out, you need to find a way to stand out, right? And so it's the same concept.
Yeah, back in Babylonian times, probably like a few hundred years ago, you'd just get the town. What do they call it? The town screamer or the town hall would get up
Yeah.
to the crate and just tell everyone the news, right? And
Yeah.
and here's my question. My second question: Did was marketing born from advertising? Because if you think about it, like in the 1800s, the first marketing in my mind was like you're advertising something in the newspaper and you're trying to sell something.
Yeah. I mean, like advertising was historically maybe the most one of the most prominent forms of advertising, but there's always been a whole bunch of different variants, right? And when you learn marketing in school, you learn about the 4 P's of marketing, price, promotion, place. Price, promotion, place. That's embarrassing. And the fourth one.
Hello.
So, your price is a form of marketing, right? And you speak about like charging for value and stuff like that. But obviously, somebody who charges a high price for the value versus somebody who charges a commodity price, that's part of your marketing, right? Because if I'm charging a commodity price, I can't position myself as a top of the line um, product or service, right? So price is part of it. Promotion is what you call advertising, and place, but it's also where is it? Where is it available? Is it available just in stores? And obviously now online. Well, now like for a long time now, online's been increasing in strength, but um, but it went down to a science, right? Like within retail stores, they knew that if you were eye level on the right hand side, you had more purchasing power than if you were on the floor on the left hand side, because they know most people are right handed. And so then they would engineer stores, so there's actually a lot more to marketing than advertising. Um, it's just maybe it's not always as obvious, all the other elements that go into it, but they're just as important because yeah, you can have a great ad, right? You have a great ad, but if your ad is off with your price, for example, if your ad shows like everybody breaking down the door to get your product, but then when actually people go check out your product is hyper expensive, your marketing quote unquote won't work.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll stay within the rules of the game, and I won't ask another question.
um, and this one's maybe a little antagonistic, but do sales departments hate CRMs?
Oh boy. Here's my answer. The people that hate CRMs, it's because they haven't built a proper sales process, and they haven't built a sales process that helps their teams. So if you as a team member hate your CRM, it's because the CRM is not doing what it should be doing for you, and you haven't set it up properly, and also because you haven't taken the time to really understand that sales process.
Right. And you're right. And I've been thinking a lot about CRM, and we talked a bit about the different pillars of growth during the last rapid fire episode. And, your CRM is also a tool that has to integrate with your marketing and your customer service, right? Like if it exists as a standalone and nobody knows what's happening, it's hard for a salesperson, I think, to really get the full value from it. Like if they don't know who this contact is, yes, it came from marketing, but what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Or to know that this customer is completely unhappy and I'm trying to upsell them, like it just doesn't work, right? So I think your CRM increasingly needs to act as kind of your foundation for
Yes.
all your revenue activities.
Your CRM needs to act as your foundation. It's sort of an assistant. I think most people that have a problem with the CRM is because they used to take notes and they're not using it to its full capacity. Even as a marketing lead, accounting, or whatever it is that you're trying to do with it, if you're just using it as a note taking device and you're not good at it and it's not helping you out, you're not using it properly, then yeah, you're going to hate it. But is that I think reps hate it because the companies are not using it properly.
Right.
So that's my answer, because the CRM is a tool that needs to be filled with proper content and used in the proper manner.
Gotcha. Your turn.
Okay, so who should do marketing?
At a company, you mean?
Nope. I mean, what kind of company should be doing marketing? Is there a size? Is there a growth? Like when should you be doing marketing?
Um, every company should do some form of marketing. It's becoming more and more imperative. It's a bigger and bigger challenge if you don't. If you're purely based on cold calls and sales activities, I'm not saying it won't work. I'm not saying you can't build a successful business, but you're definitely either capping your growth or making your sales success a little harder. So I think everybody needs to do marketing. I mean, but then within that, obviously, if you're Coca-Cola, you'll do very different marketing than if you're, you know, Question Z, right?
Okay.
Like,
All right. So let me get a little extreme philosophical here. Should the corner bakery be doing marketing?
yeah, and they do, right? Like they put some put local Facebook ads, some put have even a Google My Business presence, so that when people search for bakery or bread or fresh bread, like they pop up. Some will have newsletters, some will have discounts, like even local flyers or newspapers, or like, hey, like we're recording this on the eve of St.
Basically, what you're
Patrick's Day. So
saying
St. Patrick's Day discount, get green bread for like 30% off or something like that.
well, so really, there's no way to get around marketing. You need to do marketing, and even if you're doing simple things, you're still doing marketing. Um,
Right. And you could probably feel it right on your end where it's like, you're obviously putting a lot of effort into building your business and like contacting new potential clients, but then also serving the clients. But what happens sometimes if you just rely on sales and do zero activity, and I know I've noticed it, is that you often get those like that typical like freelancer problem, right? Or you have lots of clients, so you have zero sales and marketing activity as you're delivering and then exactly right. But if you're doing your marketing and you can find a way to make it consistent, you decrease those highs and lows, right? Or at least make them shorter in time so that, okay, I finished a project, but I already have 2, 3 people in my pipeline. And it's not that it'll replace sales activity, it'll just help sales activity because you might not always be able to do your calls, but if your content's always out there, you're still kind of remaining top of mind in your
okay.
prospect.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. I'll bite my lip.
um, what do you think of scripts, like cold call scripts, demo scripts, and stuff like that?
What do I think of them?
Yeah.
I think they're awesome.
Okay.
Um, but there's a there's a caveat. Um, I think it's the one thing that you should script is your first conversation, depending at what level and how cold it is. You should have different versions. Cold, warm, hot. But that first conversation, I think that first 2 minutes or that first minute, even that first 30 seconds, not 2 minutes, it's too long. But that first 30 seconds should be scripted.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because there's very specific things you should be getting to, and you should script it, and then it should sound natural. And you can have obviously some slight adjustments for who you're speaking to. But yes, I totally believe in a script, not a red script. Hello, my name is Paul. I want to sell you popsicles. But I think you should have an idea, a very good idea, and you should have a structure to what you're doing. Um, we've
Yeah.
talked about this in the past in our podcast, but it's about that first time you talk. So yes, I firmly believe in the script.
Yeah, I didn't get scripts. And so recently I did like kind of a pipeline building certification at HubSpot. And a lot of it was the scripts. And then kind of at the end on the last training session, or one of the last training sessions, the trainer was like, okay, well, as you'll notice, like our role plays this week, there's like no script, or the script is completely different. And it's because the thinking is like you also use scripts to train, right? The more you say something, week over week or day after day as you speak to prospects, the more comfortable you get with how you want to present yourself and your positioning statements and all that. And so then your script allows you to learn and eventually get better and be more flexible and stuff like that. So I didn't understand scripts. I've written a lot of scripts because somehow it ends up in the court of marketing scored all the time. But I understand now where they come from.
Okay, great. That's awesome. Okay, so Fab, this is an interesting one because And I know this, marketing is very important. It's wide. We all do it. We just concretely explain how a bakery is doing marketing and, Coca-Cola is doing marketing. Um, as a company, when do you suggest that someone should be talking to outside help or a professional to discuss the parameters of their marketing?
That's a great question because there's a lot of confusion on that. Um, I'm going to say more in marketing than in sales because I think sales, a lot of it is done in house, and the external support is usually around coaching. I mean, you could hire like outbound, like cold calling and stuff like that, but and maybe that answer is a bit philosophical, but you need to understand kind of what's going to be your distinguishing factor, right? And that you shouldn't outsource. Anything else you should outsource. Like, so for example, if I'm the president and I love Google Ads, I look into it myself. I actually, my little highlight of the day is when I can take a few minutes to go tweak my Google Ads. Then run that yourself. Don't go through an agency because they'll never serve you as well as you would want to, and you're probably going to build your uniqueness off of that love of Google Ads, for example. So Google Ads may be a weird example, but content, right? If you're like, I love content, I want to put out great content, I want to be very personalized, I want it to be instant, spur of the moment, don't go outsourcing content, right? Go outsource your Google Ads, go outsource your stuff that you don't really care about that you should be doing. So step one is really think what's going to differentiate you. What can you do that you love to do? Because everybody's doing some form of marketing, right? Every business
Can
owner,
I, can I challenge you on that a little bit?
of
Because
course.
let's say you're new at what you do. No, sorry. Let's say it's a new business, but you're an experienced person. So I'll use a bakery again. You've been a baker in another bakery for years and years, and your differentiating factor is you make great bread, right? Wouldn't it be valuable to hire someone right from the start to help you script that differentiating factor, help you understand it?
Yeah, of course. But I think a lot of people. So let's take your bakery, right? Well, why are people coming back? Is it the quality of the bread? Fine. Well, but that doesn't make people come to your store, right? Because it's like what makes people come to your store is Paul buys your bread, loves it, and gives it to everybody at the next dinner party that he has when he's allowed to have a dinner party again. And then everybody's like, "Where did you get this bread?" "Oh, well, I got it down the street," and now everybody's going down the street. So what's great about how you run in your store is your quality is driving word of mouth, and so that I wouldn't try to outsource how do I get more word of mouth. I would try to outsource how to run my Google My Business page, outsource my ads, outsource my so that's what I mean. Like there's some things that you do innately because you're good at it, and that I would try. I know it's like I said at the beginning, it's philosophical. I know it's hard to pinpoint. Like, okay, like this is what makes me different, but I think the best way to identify it and to maybe make it more actionable is if you are speaking with a consultant and they're saying something like word of mouth and it seems irrelevant to you, it's probably a sign that you're doing a lot of that by yourself automatically anyway, and you don't feel you need help for it.
Okay. All right.
So I know it's philosophical. I think everybody needs to start marketing. Everybody needs to do marketing. But then don't outsource what makes you unique, right? And the last thing I'll say on that, obviously, there's always the variable of budget, right? Like if you're running a bakery, you probably can't afford like $100,000 of Facebook ads a month, right? So don't, listen to what an expert will say. If you can't afford $60,000 in media budget a month, maybe it's not worth running a big media campaign. Let's look at other options.
Okay. Fair enough. Good. Thank you. Good answer.
Thank you.
And I'm biting my lip to keep going down that direction, but it's fun. I like the rapid fire. What's your next question?
What's the role of sales collateral? So, case studies, one pagers, stuff like that. If any, do they have a role in sales?
I think there's a huge role. I think it's very important. I think sales collateral is great. But there's, again, a caveat here. A lot of people use it as a crutch. And I think it should be support to what you're saying or what you've discovered, right? It's sort of like a presentation. You don't present up front to sell. You present once you've confirmed what the need is to maybe confer or conclude what's a firm, just what's the word I'm looking for? Summarize. You just to make sure that you're in agreement with that your client is in agreement with what you're presenting based on the facts that you gave them before, right? So I think sales collateral is the same thing. If I walk into a store, for example, and the first thing you do is pass me a brochure of the thing you're trying to sell me, well, you're not using it very well, right? But if you're saying, yeah, oh, I had a great conversation, and I'd love to have some kind of reminder. Well, here's our web page, and go look at all this information that we talked about. Then it's proper. So I totally believe in sales collateral. I believe in using it, but it needs to be used properly. It can't be used as a crutch. It has to
Right.
be as
So it has to answer a why. Like, why am I sharing a case study,
yeah.
right? For example, or why am I sharing a one pager on how to take care of suede shoes, right? Like, it has to be worth something and help move the sales forward.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to move it forward and bring it to a point that makes sense. The reason I say there's a caveat is a lot of people lean on sales collateral. I mean, I was guilty when I started in my career and in the 90s. I would often send out a presentation before I even met someone because I didn't
Mm,
know what I was going to say to them and say, here, I'll tell you a little bit about us. And I mean, that was, it was disastrously wrong. And I didn't know any better. I learned the hard way
right,
a while, but it got there. And so I do believe that sales collateral is very, very important. And in the technical sales, it's sometimes necessary. It's mandatory.
right,
If I'm calling someone and trying to sell them a very specific product that they need for a specific assembly line, I know an aeronautical product, a manufacturing product, they may need to see specs written down, right?
right.
So that is a form. I don't call it sales collateral. I call that more information, but it varies, right? It goes from very marketing sales collateral to very technical spec stuff, right?
Right. And it could be like, yeah, because I mean, you could go far out and say like a blog could be a sales collateral in that you're speaking to somebody and you clearly see they're not in a buying mode yet. So instead of like running after them for months and months and months and months, it's like, hey, go check out our blog. And, when you're ready, we'll talk, or I'll speak to you in 6 months or something like that. Or, if you have a blog post on what's the role of sales collateral, you could be like, hey, go check out this podcast episode, and we'll get back to we'll chat later on, type of thing. So it's helping these people are not ready yet to move forward. So
Okay, cool.
cool.
Very
Thanks, Paul.
interesting. Do we have time for another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why not?
Um, I was thinking about this, and I don't know how to present this because it's a strange question. But with the advent of people building their websites and whatnot, websites can be used in such a different manner. Do you see websites necessarily as a marketing tool, or it can be so many different things? Like, do you think a website should be first and foremost a marketing tool?
Um, yeah. I mean, it it's obviously it's a broad question. So, and I think your website can actually serve a lot of different purposes, right? I could have I could have a customer section of my site where they can go and book a meeting with their account manager directly from your website. So, is that marketing? Is it not? Is it customer service? Like, the line could be thin, right?
Well,
But
look at Amazon, and this is what I said. So Amazon is a transactional website, right?
right.
It's not at all a marketing tool. I mean, yes, they have their little logo up on the left, but
But again, like when we talked about the four P's, even though I still can't remember the fourth one, but price and stuff like that, and promotion, right? When you buy something, they say people also bought XYZ, right? You buy a drum kit, they're like, maybe you'll want to buy a drum stool. So it is a pure marketing tool as well, because
themselves is what I'm saying. It's a transactional website, right? So Amazon's they're marketing themselves only in that you go to that place to buy other things, but Amazon doesn't sell anything per se, and they're just a machine, right? They're a machine that delivers something. But have you ever seen an Amazon ad? I don't think I have. Have you?
I don't know. I mean, for some of their products, yes, but Amazon per se, no. But again, it's like, but they're doing ads through SEO, through paid. Like they have a massive digital ad budget and stuff like that. If you do a search for drum kits, like some of their SEO, some of their organic and their paid placements will show up.
Amazon, yeah. Okay.
So again, but Amazon is an e-commerce site, which is very different than a site like yours, which is very different than a site of like, uh, Coca-Cola, or like they all have differences, right? But ultimately they are a marketing tool. It's just you have to understand where they fit within your sales and marketing and or your revenue process, right? Like, is it the tool may need to attract potential customers? Is it a tool to engage with potential clients? Is it like it can serve a lot of purposes? But I would say I would argue that ultimately, yes. I mean, there's all a marketing subset to it, right? Like you're talking about Amazon, the one-click purchase is a form of marketing, right? You're removing friction for the buyer, that they don't have to enter their password every time and blah 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 blah, which a lot of other e-commerce sites do. So that's a form of marketing, right? Simplifying, removing a barrier. So if your website makes it hyper complicated to get in touch with you, even though you're just a sales consultant, and I have to click on this button, scroll all the way down to the bottom just to get in touch with you, your website's not fulfilling one of its core purposes, which is to get potential clients to talk to you.
Okay. All right. That's good. Thanks.
All
Are
right.
you any other question, or are we done?
I have one last one.
Oh no! Okay, go for it.
And this one, I left it for the end because I want to see where you're going to go with it. What do you wish every marketer knew about sales?
Fab, it's interesting you say that, because I've obviously learned a lot more about marketing in the time that we've worked together, because my impression of what marketing was before and what it is now has changed. Marketing is a lot more vast. What do I wish marketers knew? I wish they understood tactical sales more. I wish they understood the role of the individual, so that when marketing works with sales, that they realize, and you and I have said this before, where does marketing stop and where does sales begin, or where does sales begin? I wish that conversation was more fluid, because I think there's a lot of overlap. And if they understand each other better, I think it helps. So it's really what I wish they knew. I think that was your question. What was your exact?
Yeah.
It's not what I wish they knew. It's more of an attitude, because I think there's often adversarial, particularly in large enterprise companies. There's often an adversarial point of view. I think they should live under the same hat. And I think when you separate them, that's where you start getting a lot of trouble. So you should have your CMO and your CRO should be, linked at the hips, and they should be working together. And that's what do I wish they knew? I wish they understood each other better. So basically, I wish they were sitting in the same room together.
Yeah.
Like you and I sat in the same room together. That's what we're doing now. And because of that, we understand each other's roles a lot better. And I think you've realized there's a lot more sales and marketing, and I've realized there's a lot more marketing and sales.
Yeah. And I think, like now being on my own and having to do my own sales and, cold calling or warm calling or whatever calling you want to do it, and reaching out to people and going through the sales process and things, like as a marketer, you don't know all that because you don't live in that world, right? You live in the world of, brand and getting my content out there and generating and getting leads and which is not easy, but it's completely different. And, I think there's a serious lack of understanding of what the reality of sales is, and that it's not because you have an inbound lead that you're going to sign it, even though marketing would love you to sign it because it goes against their metrics. There is a whole process that goes behind signing even an inbound lead, which is, maybe easier to close at the end of the day. But there's still a process to follow. There's still difficulties to follow. So I think every marketer should sit with sales, even if they're not there every day, at least, once a month, or maybe part of your onboarding should be to sit for a week with sales and listen to them on the phone and going through their sales process and updating their CRM and all that stuff. So you can be like, oh, wow, when we send you a lead, it's complicated. I never realized how complicated it would be. let's go back to the drawing board and figure that out.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And you come back to CRM. I wanted to finish on that, if you don't mind. There's one thing I want to say about CRMs is that anyone who sees a CRM as a tool in and of itself, I think is making a mistake. It's an assistant to the salespeople, and it's an assistant to marketing. It's not a tool in and of itself. Your CRM won't do anything if the people who are supposed to be using it don't use it properly. And
Mm-hmm.
sales are the front line, but what I wish marketing, I think a good way to bring marketing and sales back closer together is to make sure they work together, like you just said, on figuring out the CRM, the strategies, how they can help each other, and to have a common goal. I think that's one thing. If they have a common goal, then it'll be a lot easier to get to that position.
Excellent. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Fab.
I'll talk to you soon. See you, everybody.
Bye.